death is it plays so many different angles. It's so tricky. It's such a interesting tactic, but if you can learn from it, you can use it in your life, play the same angles against it. And in a sense, it gets you more energy out of life. So you can if it's playing an angle, like, okay, if you die, you're going to be alone, you're not going to ever see your family again, it's going to be like this story. Where are you feeling that in your life currently? Because if it's playing that angle, it's a reflection of, okay, where am I feeling that now?
Interesting.
Because if I feel like I'm going to be lonely when I pass, where do I feel lonely now? Or where do I feel, if you know, no one would care if I died. That's a common saying a lot of young people use because they haven't really integrated their you know, beingness. So it's more used as a bratty tactic, like, you should care better for me. And instead of, you know, them caring better for themselves. It's like a brat move that younger generation will use. Like, you wouldn't care if I died, and, you know, I should go kill myself.
As being a victim again.
Yeah, and usually if someone says that, it's a very concerning thing because sometimes people are serious about it. And you should ask them, are you serious? Should I call someone right now and get you help? Or are you just fucking around? And to confront people, because they know most people are just like, they shy away, they're afraid of the conversation. Just confront it right to the head, ask the question straight up. And most of the time that'll throw people off and won't know how to respond to it. They're like, oh yeah, I was just joking around. And just remember, if I find you dead, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass. They're just like, okay.
Oh shit.
You know, it's like a threat, the same way death's making a threat. They're making a threat, she's making a threat back. You're not gonna hurt her. But it's like, you make this playful threat to think, okay, I'm gonna come find your ass at home. And you want me to send a picture of your mom so she can see it first, or how you want me to do this? And they really start thinking about it. And they're just like, fuck. You say, I don't really care how you do it, but I'm going to make it to where you have to think about it.
Right. Like, this is a serious thing that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, so if you're going to, you know, pick yourself out on some rocks, is it okay if I send a picture to your mom and say, look, this is how I did it? Because I'm not going to affect emotion into it. Because if I can separate away the emotion, I can get someone to really consider their actions. They're not going to see the actions after they take the action.
True. They're just thinking of it, like you said, from more of a selfish standpoint of maybe some people don't think about, okay, how is my family going to respond to this? Or how is, you know, the world going to carry on without me? And you're just thinking, escape your pain. Because I mean, even for me personally, I've had, you know, periods in my life for years of being, you know, suicidal and just thinking in my head, like, I didn't even care at that point, you know, whether or not it was going to affect my family or how people were going to feel about it, because I think when you're in that mind space, you're just thinking, I want to escape my pain, like you said, and that's the only thing running through your head. But what I want to touch on today a little bit more is also, are we escaping though? Like, you think death is the portal to escaping your feelings. It's escaping your emotions and your pain. But what if that isn't an escape? What if you just carry that into your next, whatever you go into, whether it be you know, maybe you're physically removed from the body, but are your thought forms still going to be with you? You know, that pain, like, is it really an escape, I guess?
I don't think it is. I think that, from my point of view and the contemplation I've observed on it, is it's not an escape. I'm sure you'd be bathed in the infinite oneness of everything, and you would understand the universe on another level. The same you're going to understand it if you're in a deep meditation, or when you actually do kick the bucket, you're going to understand it the same. So for me, I think every person, your sister, your cousin, your parents, every one of them played a role for you to be here in this existence, for you to finish this chapter of this existence. If you close the chapter too early, you got to figure out all the new chapter, and everyone that's playing that role has to now play it again. So when your parents might be pissed off that they got to come back with you again and hash this shit out again because you made a mistake. Because you're not only affecting everyone else, and I'm sure people would enjoy it, you know, they'd learn more from it. The evolution would change collectively with everyone.
Right.
Because the person that maybe you came back as the parent now, and you have to see your son kill himself. So you can understand how it affected your parents. So you kind of turn it on yourself and make it even worse for yourself. But in the evolution of it, it's not worse or greater or bad or good. It's just the evolution of it. You have to grow emotionally through that. You can grow without doing it. That's the great thing about emotions. you can feel the feelings of what it would feel like out physically doing it. Like you can feel the feelings of joy without having someone cause that feeling in you.
True.
So it's the same with that. So if you affected your mother in such a negative way that she was depressed the rest of her life, now you got to come back and be a mom and watch your daughter kill herself. Like that's what you got to go through. Do you want to sign up for that? Do you not think of that? But really, that's probably this pattern that's going to create. So then you get to experience that and understand what every person had to go through, and you got to live every one of those lives.
Yeah.
By your decision.
Yeah. This is a very high level conversation too. I think that the way that we're kind of perceiving this too is in the understanding that we live more than one life. And I think a lot of people that don't believe, that there's, afterlife, or maybe they don't understand, or maybe they're trying to learn more about what happens after I die. Is this my only existence? Because a lot of people think this is just one and done. Like you're born and then, if you grow up in religion, like, we had a religious background, like the way that they kind of told us is, if you're good enough, if you do this and X, Y, Z, then you're going to go to heaven, which we didn't even know. We just kind of made up this idea of what we thought heaven looked like. Yeah,
it's just this, like, you're either, I don't even know how to compare it because it's such a drastic change from heaven and what they call other places. Was heaven just special and everything's cool and you get to hang out. It's like, vacation every day.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, you have to do the worst thing you hate doing. You have to smell the worst smell you hate smelling the rest of your life, and you got to hear all these bad noises you don't like listening to. That's kind of like the contrast.
Yeah.
But to me, it's none of that. It's neither of those. I think for me, when I officially kick the bucket, I'm going to see all the stories and all the patterns I played out and all the identities that live through me. And what I mean by identities is all the versions of myself.
Right.
Because there's so many versions. I'm like, when you're 10 and when you're 20, that's a different version. You're not the same person. So I think people create their own simulation too. If they want to die and not create a new simulation of another pattern, they can be in the black stillness of the rest of their life. If they want to go there, they'll sign up for that pattern. Like I think if a Muslim dies Muslim, they wake up in the afterlife a Muslim. And if you die a certain thing you've held on to, you'll wake up in that afterlife being that thing.
Interesting.
And then that'll be your next journey. You don't get to, end there and be like, well, I hang the badge on the door. I retired. It's like a constant evolution. It's like a banana doesn't not exist because you ate the banana. Like
it's just transmuting
its transmuting its energy and turns back to
Yeah.
where it came from. Energy comes from somewhere, and it's going back to the source of its energy.
Yeah.
And I think us in this little human body, we're a huge collective of consciousness of many, many generations of ancestors collectively, and we're acting out a little teeny strand of hair. Like collectively we have a head of hair, and we're one strand thinking we're independent and separate from everybody else. And really, when you look at the whole head of hair, it's one collective organism of hair. It's one collective organism of skin. And the proteins in the hair are one collective protein within the body. It's so deep in the banana you ate, that one collective protein in that banana became a part of that hair particle. Banana didn't go away, it became something else. So you didn't go away, you just became something else.
Right.
Energetically, you lay your compost pile down and you decompose. But that's just a part of it.
Yeah, I see it that way too. It's like everything is energy transmutation. Like whether, the way that I see, me passing or anyone else passing, it's like your energy is just being transmuted into something else.
Right.
And even though, we may not be able to see it physically, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Because we also have to understand how much we're visibly able to see on the spectrum of light. We're literally able to see 1% of what's even here.
Right.
99% of what exists isn't even accessible to us because our mind can't process it.
Right.
It's too much information. So the fact that we think we lose people when they die is an illusion. They're only being transmuted in terms of energy. So they're going out of the physical body, but they could very well be right there next to you, more with you than they were even in the physical.
Yeah, I wrote this poem one time for a friend of mine that her grandma passed away. I'm trying to remember the poem. It was a very beautiful poem. I cried writing it. It was something along the lines that it's so hard to take a death, and everything seems so far away, and it's so hard to lose. But at some point, we wish we'd see them another day.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is they're so close and so near that we don't perceive them because they're so close within us.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ancestors, the energy of them is now us.
Right.
And we can call on that energy and use it for whatever circumstance in our life. We're facing a challenge, and we know. And that's why stories are so important, because you can call on the story of someone's existence and call energy from that story. The strength that was in that story, the strength that they pushed through to conquer. That's why they say, always surround yourself with successful people. It's not just the energy of it, but it's the strength. When you're in a tight spot, and when you're down on your knees, and you're in such a threat of your life, you can remember someone's story, and you can pull strength from that story.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pulling strength from people that have passed on, pulling strength from the courage they had, from the mistakes they made, and you can feel good about your mistakes and not feel so shameful. So there's stories and ancestors are always there. I've had so many visions of ancestors that every one of them is integrated in us. Like our ancestors are the trees, it's the water, it's nature, it's the air, it's the breath we breathe. That's our ancestor. We don't realize it, but that is our ancestors. Everything. Like our decaying toenail in the dirt is our ancestors. You know, I mean, toenail Matilda or whatever.
Right. I mean, it sounds super weird to people, but yeah. Yeah. I think it goes deep. There's a lot of things that we don't understand about it.
There's so much beauty to it. I had this vision once that it was a vision about like the evolution of, it was connected to women, and I was seeing it through a vision, through my mother, and through one of my sisters, and another good friend of mine that was experiencing some conflict with her mother too. So it was like this whole mix of feminine energy beating up feminine energy through their mothers, not realizing that the mother had given them the most precious gift they could ever receive. It was like this thing, and by seeing that, it showed me I had that same conflict with my mom. I didn't realize it, right? So I had this conflict unobserved by seeing that. So they were like perfect examples for me. But I saw this thing where the umbilical cord is like this energetic tie that loops infinity, never breaks. Just because we separate from the umbilical cord doesn't mean that we're separate from it. That energetic cord, the energy transferred to that cord is infinity, and it never ends. And I saw this. I saw a person come out of the earth in this vision where it was like birth to human, and they birthed another human, and they birthed another human, another human, another human, and I saw the line of the umbilical cords. And I saw, as they came up, as the new ones unfolded, the old one went away, and the new one unfolded, the old one went away. It's like this death cycle.
Right.
There's a new one, the old one went away. But it's the generation, the energy is the same. It's just, the energy is coming out of planet Earth. Mother Earth is the most powerful energy. If Mother Earth wasn't, we'd be on Mars. We'd be calling Father Mars.
Yeah.
You know, and Bruno and everybody would be there. We'd be jamming out. Yeah, he'd have some epic beats like the light show. You can imagine the smoke in the air with all the red dust. It'd be epic.
That'd be pretty fun. Yeah. I think that's a really cool way to see it too, because I always see things as like a constant evolution, and the universe is always expanding. We're always moving toward expansion. We're always moving toward evolution. And so if we are an extension of our ancestors, like you said, we are carrying not only the traumas, the generational traumas from the family line, but we're also carrying the strength and the gifts and all those beautiful blessings that they're giving to us. And I think that it is our responsibility, if we want to really live the best life that we can here and be the best service to humanity, to consciousness, and to evolution, we learn about ourselves, we learn about our ancestry, to where we can really call upon our strengths, embody those things, make that, even better and build upon that, but also to heal the things that, you know, may have been passed down that our parents or their parents weren't able to face because of the times that they lived in.
Yeah.
Because we can't blame them either and be like, oh, mom and dad, they were shitty parents, they beat me, or they didn't do this to me, or they whatever. It's like they did the best they could with what they knew.
Yeah, with the circumstances.
So we, being more evolved, you know, in the position of having more accessibility, having more resources, and that type of stuff, it's our responsibility to then, once again, heal those things and pass that down. So then our kids, I'm sure they're going to have access to way more than we do.
Yeah.
And then they can evolve and grow. So it's this constant evolution, and we're all in it together, because we are, if you believe this way, I believe that we're all one. You know, we all come from the same source. And in order for us to all evolve collectively, it's every person does their part to be a part of the whole. Like we are individual, but we also need to recognize the connectedness.
Yes, yeah, we're individual in our bodies, I should say.
Yes.
But in a collective consciousness, we're all one energy.
Yeah.
And in a sense, we're all one energy through the body too, because the body is Mother Earth. So Earth is one.
We're still interconnected.
We're interconnected just because we can physically. If a tree got up and walked away, it could say, "I'm not related to you guys. I'm not a tree." You're like, "Bro, you're a tree. You came from the same soul. You came from the same seed.
Yeah.
You came from the human existence of DNA. You're a tree. It doesn't matter what species of tree you are. You're still a tree.
Yeah.
You're still doing the same thing trees do every day. They breathe. They take in the oxygen dioxide and breathe out oxygen.
But it has to do its part. Just like we have to do our part.
Right.
To take care of ourselves. If I was constantly focused on what Daniel needs, what do you need? Do you need to be fed? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you need to do you need me to take you to work? And then I just forget about myself and I just die because I forgot how to eat and I didn't take myself to the bathroom. Like, you have to focus on yourself. That's the whole reason why I think we have egos. We need that sense of individuality to survive in this 3D world.
Yeah.
Because if if the veil was completely removed and all we saw was interconnectedness, we wouldn't take care of ourselves because we'd be like, but we're all one. If he eats, that means I eat. And then we can survive. But then,
Yeah, there's a story about I can't remember where I heard it, but it's a story about someone that accepts that everyone's one. So he goes to a place where he's hungry and wants to eat. So he takes someone's food from them and eats it. And the person asks, "Why did you take my food?" He said, "We're all one. So I actually ate your food, and you'll be filled by me eating your food because I'm full. So you should be full because we're one." So, and he tried to explain this to the person. The person didn't really like that. So the person took him to court and beat him up about not going out and eating people's food and saying we're one.
Right.
You gotta be accountable for your life.
Right.
So he didn't agree and they fought in court for a long time and finally came to the point where the judge couldn't figure out anything else to do. So he's like, okay, well, I have a bailiff that is one. He's the same as you and you're him. And I'm gonna have him take you out back and use his bar on you. And just remember, every time you get hit by the bar, just remember that pain and everything, he's feeling that too. Just remember that. So, and whenever you're ready to accept that we're all one, you can just let us all know and we'll let you free. So he just gets asked what.
Right, just turn the tables on.
Just turn the tables on it so you can really understand the consequence. Yeah, we're all one, but don't be, kind of silly about it.
Yeah.
So he left with a bunch of bruises on his back and just, submitted and said, yeah, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
I'll pay the dues and won't eat your food.
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing that Christ was trying to teach with treat your neighbor as yourself. If you truly love and honor yourself and you recognize, okay, my evolution and my taking care of myself and loving myself is helping this other person who I also know is a piece of me too. It's like you really can't love someone until you love yourself. You can't show up and be that until you've done it for yourself, because then you're coming from a deficit, and anytime you do that, it just doesn't end well.
Yeah, because if that's the point, then you're just getting endorphin hits, and then you think that's what love is. Because it's just this dopamine hit that you're getting, and you associate love in the brain instead of in the heart, And it's very hard to get it in the heart. And my daughter's taught me this more than any person in the world, is having so much love for someone. It expands your heart to where you have more love for everyone else. You see the world differently by becoming a father or a mother. And I remember people always saying to me, it'll never be the same. It won't be like ever the same. And after that, seeing that, like I've been filled with so many tears of joy. I've cried so many tears of joy from this little being making her presence in this planet. But like to her, maybe she died from a different world to be here. So she probably faced the same idea of death to be born in planet Earth. And I think if we take it at that look, like it's not death, it's like a new chapter, it's a new beginning, it's a
Yes.
start over, it's a fresh start, it's a new car.
Yep.
Like get rid of the old car that's got bad brakes and squeaks and bumps and the shocks don't work anymore and it's lumpy and it's just out of style. Get rid of it and feel what it feels like driving a new car.
Yeah.
It feels so good. To have something that's reliable, it's legit, and knows what it's doing. That's what it's like dying. You get to trade it off if you've lived a good life of old age. Trade it in for a new car.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And you get to live an
That's
epic
exactly
life
what it is.
with whoever down the line that maybe you knew that person before you died. And that person becomes your mom. You know, there's so many facets of life and death that are being played out. Maybe your sister that you knew that was, you know, living in a large family like mine, and I die and her granddaughter becomes my mom at some point, and I live that existence because I never got to see it in time before I passed away. So I'm living through that existence. There's so many different levels and facets to this existence of us. There's so many people that are connected to us that are unborn, that they don't exist, and then they will exist through our presence of our reincarnation. There's so much beauty to this earth. All the people we've slaughtered in wars and the disheartening of everybody, they're probably all back here, and they're probably the ones trying to make peace. They're the ones that are coming back in with new peaceful energy. They're bringing energy. You ever seen a baby come out with like, I've birthed babies, but I've never heard of a story of a baby coming out just like rage and like, you know, blood vessels sticking out of their forehead and like this greed in their heart where they punch their sister in the face as soon as they see them. Babies do that, but it's like a playful thing. When they evolve, they're not born with this energy.
Evil energy.
Yeah, they're not born, they don't have this look in their eye where they look like, you look at them and you're like, what are you thinking, you know? Yeah, you know they're not up to something. They just want the titty and they want to go to sleep.
Right.
So that's babies.
Yeah, I definitely think that. It's like every time that a lot of, I don't know, I've had this argument with people, but that, you know, with the whole concept of there's terrible people that exist on the planet. You know, you have Hitlers and you have people that are terrible humans that, you know, some people think is so unfathomable that they're like, they must have been born evil. They must have been born with, you know, something wrong with them. And I don't think that that's the case. Like, everyone is born with a pure heart, and I'm sure it's certain circumstances that they go through in their life that, you know, pushes them to make certain decisions that allows them to go down that path. But once again, that's a choice.